Okay, so with the long-awaited return of the Bleach anime with the 1,000-year Blood War coming October 2022, I felt it was only appropriate that we discuss some of the misconceptions that surround the Bleach anime, the Bleach manga, and the Bleach franchise as a whole, because a lot of word has circulated throughout the years, some of which is facts, some of which is fiction, and I wanted to kind of dive into a little bit of the history of Bleach and exactly what happened with Bleach. Why did it stop with its anime? What happened with the manga? And just in general, a lot of different things that the Bleach series as a whole faced throughout its run. So yeah, let's talk about it.
I must go, must leave this house. I must go, the time is now. I must go, it's time to get out.
Okay, so the Bleach manga by the author Tite Kubo, his original manga that he did before Bleach was a series called Zombie Powder, and boy was that thing so raw. To this day, I would welcome with open arms a Zombie Powder return. I just had to throw that in there to begin with. If you've never read Zombie Powder, it's a very short manga, I want to say a few volumes long, and it was freaking snapping. I'd still to this day wish Kubo would bring it back somehow, some way, because it was pretty awesome. But then following the end of his Zombie Powder manga, Kubo came back with Bleach, and because at that time Kubo was considered pretty much a prodigy because he was very young when he started on Bleach, they pretty much gave him free reign and he went wild. The first arc of Bleach, if you don't know about it, the Soul Society arc, till this day is still a classic and legendary arc. Even the naysayers and haters of Bleach can't deny that the Soul Society arc of Bleach was freaking incredible. There was a lot of lead up, build up, suspense, the action was top tier. This was the arc in particular, and I want to say it wasn't actually technically the first arc, although most people just bunched the first 64 episodes as all Soul Society. Technically, there's of course the Substitute Soul Reaper arc and a few other things that lead up to Soul Society, but nevertheless, the Soul Society arc was like Dragon Ball Z with swords, a lot of people claim, because the action was just top tier, and one of the biggest series out there that is known for its action was Dragon Ball Z, so it really hooked in a lot of people. It sold millions of copies, and honestly there was nothing at that time that was stopping Bleach from basically becoming the king of manga. It was just so damn epic. Then the anime adaptation came through, and honestly the anime was damn near HD quality before HD even became a thing in anime, or a standard for that matter, because it just looked amazing. Studio Pierrot, this is one of their heights of just art, animation, and everything surrounding it. It was freaking a great time to be a Bleach fan. Shortly after, it started going into fillers such as the Bount arc, which back then a lot of people hated on Bount. I know people personally that they said that that was one of the things that kind of deterred them from Bleach. There was like, oh my god, which I want to throw this out there right now. Despite the fact that the Bount arc did have problems, it felt like it dragged, and especially coming off of a legendary arc like the Soul Society arc, it definitely felt like, wow, a very big step downward for the Bleach series. But I gotta add in that I don't think fans understood how good we had it back then with fillers. Like, don't get me wrong, nobody wants filler. You just want straight up canon. You want to get to the meat of the story and all of that good stuff. But in retrospect, in comparison to some of the filler stuff we have in anime now, like Bount arc was actually not that bad. In fact, confession time, y'all ready for this? You're probably gonna be a little shocked. The Bount arc of Bleach, the anime, was my first exposure to the series. It was actually a birthday gift that I got for my graduation, and at the time I remember thinking, well, okay, I'm about to get into Bleach then. And I remember the opening. Oh my god, that opening was so freaking good. In general, Bount, it was interesting. It wasn't the craziest in the world. Again, it had its issues, but nevertheless, looking back now, I would say that Bount was overhated. And again, Bleach fans and fans in general of anime didn't understand that, yo, it could get a lot worse than that, buddy. But then following that, it felt like pretty much for the most part the story onward, aside from when we would go into like fillers like the Captain Amagai stuff and the Zanpakuto Rebellion arcs, like for the most part the whole story resided around taking down Eisen. Pretty much Kubo solidified with, of course, the end of the Soul Society arc and onward that the whole story is basically, we gotta take this dude down, he's bad news. And I'm not even gonna lie, to this day I think most anime fans, in particular of shonen and manga shonen fans, can say that Eisen was one cold dude, dog. There was nobody like, if you like a Walter White from Breaking Bad and you felt like, damn, yo, Walt really, especially towards the end of Breaking Bad, everything just snapped. He made all his plans and everything just kept hitting one after another. Eisen makes Walter White look like, I don't know, Tickle Me Elmo, because Eisen just, every step of the way, it was just bam, bam, bam. Eisen was a bad dude. And despite the fact that, yeah, some fans felt like, yo, dog, we went from pretty much episode 64, if you exclude all the fillers that came out in Bleach or whatever, the remainder of the series, a couple hundred episodes, is all about Eisen. It still nevertheless showed that it built up one of the best villains in shonen anime. So much so that, honestly, people like to misremember a little now, and I've covered this throughout the years, but Bleach was 100% and always will be, despite people trying to be history revisionaries, the third of the big three. It was Naruto, One Piece, and Bleach, and I'm always gonna scream that from the mountaintops no matter what people say, that yeah, it was Bleach. Dragon Ball was not a part of no big three. Dragon Ball was pretty much the catalyst that allowed the Naruto, One Pieces, and Bleaches to exist, especially how much they thrived over here in the West. But yeah, it wasn't Dragon Ball, it was Bleach. Bleach was very heavily popular from when I even started getting heavy into anime. I remember when I would meet anime fans in the real, chances are if they wasn't a Naruto fan, they was into Bleach, or of course they knew about that One Piece greatness. But Bleach had left its mark. To this day, Bleach is still one of the highest selling manga of all time, over 100 million plus copies sold, and that's nothing to sneeze at. And I would say for the most part, despite fans' complaints here and there, Bleach really held it down and held its own in that spot of the big three all the way up until the end of the Eisen stuff in the anime. Once the Eisen ending with the final Getsuga Tensho and all of that greatness that ensued from there, once that pretty much came to a close, that's when I felt like Bleach started to slowly slip in popularity and in interest, because it made it so much so, following again the Soul Society arc, that Eisen was a staple in the series. It was almost kind of like removing one of the main characters, and we know very well that when you remove an important character from a series, fans lose interest. But especially the fact that the whole entire series felt like it was building up to Eisen being the main villain. When we go to something like the next arc that follows, canon-wise, the Fullbring arc, a lot of people started to slowly lose interest and were just like, well, what's the point of even going on anymore? This whole series basically was that Eisen was the big threat, Eisen was the antagonist, why should I care? And I would argue that, yeah, it definitely felt like, yo, dog, Eisen is the main key player. Like, you take him out, where do you go from here? But Bleach still had some really amazing stuff that followed. The Fullbring arc, I will say again, I'll admit, at the time when I was reading it weekly, it felt a little slow paced. The manga was building suspense that didn't really necessarily needed to be there, but Fullbring arc in retrospect was really dope. And also, in case people don't know, it was Tite Kubo's attempt at essentially rebranding and revamping the Bleach series. He wanted people, because he knew at that point, yo, we're hundreds of chapters deep into this manga at this point. A lot of people are probably going to get deterred from jumping in because they're going to feel, wow, there's just so much. So he wanted to kind of start fresh, which is probably why he decided, okay, the Eisen saga needs to come to an end already. He did the epic send-off, final Getsuga Tensho, all of the epic battles you could think of, the Grimjos, the Holly Bells, the Espadas, you know, all of that stuff. He finally wrapped it up and said, hey, let's start anew. Unfortunately, it didn't pan out very well, and the Fullbring arc was rated very poorly, and sales started to decline. And from there on, no matter what happened in Bleach, the sales just continued to dip. Because then, following the Fullbring arc, unfortunately, the anime had come to an end. It was March of 2012. The anime wrapped itself up with the Fullbring arc, and it wasn't until 10 years later that the Bleach anime would actually return, and as of the recording of this video, it still hasn't returned. It won't return for another month. But the manga kept on going with the 1,000-Year Blood War, and I remember very vividly at that time going absolutely crazy while reading this. Like, when the anime drops, a lot of people that stopped with the Bleach anime and never read the manga, or they just dropped it like in the Fullbring arc or whatever, you're in for a lot of surprises and a lot of treats, because the 1,000-Year Blood War, I would throw the argument, is still some of the best stuff in all of Bleach. Still some of the best action, some of the most crazy, shocking moments. Like the 1,000-Year Blood War, it felt like Kubo finally said, the gloves are off. He already did that a couple of different times, like the Ukiura fight, again, Ichigo versus Grimjo. Like, there was a lot of really epic stuff and all of the things that came before it. But then the 1,000-Year Blood War, it felt like, yo, bodies is dropping left and right, Kubo's going in, the art is immaculate, we're finally gonna see the Zero Division. Like, it really felt like this was time that Kubo was like, nah, we're gonna do it, we're going all in, baby. And it was crazy because it was an amazing arc, and even that didn't stop the hole that was in the boat of the Bleach franchise, because sales continued to decline despite how amazing the story was, because the story was really epic for so many different parts. Like, man, I reviewed every chapter of that series faithfully from the Fullbring arc on, but the Thousand Year Blood War in particular, it was special, and to this day it still boggles my mind, why did it take them a decade plus to bring this bad boy back? Like, it was doing its thing. Then, according to some interviews that came out following the end of Bleach, Tite Kubo, at some given point, his health started to fail. He was having a lot of different health issues, and that's why towards the end of Bleach, it feels like it got rushed. I remember even very vividly, there was like a midway point in the Thousand Year Blood War that Jump decided to give Kubo a break. I want to say Bleach went on either a month to 3 month break. It was a few months that they gave him between for the wrap up for the final stretch of the Thousand Year Blood War, and that's probably due to, in retrospect, that Kubo, he was under the weather, he wasn't feeling good, things was happening with his health behind the scenes. And shout outs to Kubo because he kept a brave face the entire time. We didn't find out any of this stuff until Bleach wrapped up. And with the Thousand Year Blood War wrapping itself up with chapter 686, unfortunately it felt like the last stretch of the series was kind of rushed. And again, that's probably due to Kubo's health issues. Like, there were certain battles that fans really wanted to see and certain plot twists that kind of came and went. I remember there was a couple of points where Ichigo would go somewhere to train, come back, then go somewhere else and train, and it kind of felt like, whoa, what's happening? And that's probably, again, due to Kubo going through issues. And then we fast forward to August 2016, the Bleach manga gets announced that it is officially ending. I believe they gave us like a 5-chapter heads up, if I'm not mistaken. Like, boom, Bleach ends in 5 chapters, and it was a sad countdown because it was kind of the end of an era of, we already had lost Naruto in 2014, and that was the start of the end of the big 3. We only had Bleach and One Piece, few new series started to sprout, but Bleach and One Piece still held it down. And then once Bleach came to an end, that really solidified the end of an era. Don't get me wrong, One Piece is still going very strong, but there was never another triple threat that stood above the rest of the competition like those 3 manga when they were running simultaneously. And also, I gotta throw this in there, that what a slap in the face it was when Bleach ended, that they hyped up, there was this big announcement incoming, and all everyone kept saying is, yo dog, they about to end this right, baby, they about to announce the Thousand Year Blood War anime. And with the Bleach ending of the manga, we got the announcement that we're giving you guys a live action movie, which, don't get me wrong, I actually enjoyed. I was in the minority that when it finally did come out in 2018, the Bleach live action, I really enjoyed it. I thought they did a great job with it. The characters was dope. It was a little bit different, missing a couple of key characters, but I really rocked with the Bleach film, so I was not too mad about it after the fact. But at first, I remember a lot of fans, including myself, saying, how could you do this to us? One of the best arcs of Bleach. It got a little bit of a fast wrap up, but how do you just end us and leave us off like this and then not even give us our anime adaptation? And then pretty much from there on, it was years upon years of everything pretty much going quiet. I believe 2018, we got the first inklings with the one-shot of the Burn the Witch project from Tite Kubo that is loosely based in the same universe as Bleach. I believe it's like the west part of the Serate, so it was kind of loosely within the universe, but it kind of gave fans a little bit like, maybe there's hope, maybe they could do something, but nothing was solidified. In fact, it wasn't even a few more years until we finally got the Burn the Witch anime and the big announcement that, hey, Bleach anime is returning back in 2020, that fans were like, oh, we could finally breathe easy. And then even then, it wasn't another 2 more years until October 2022 where the Bleach anime finally returned due to the pandemic slowing down production and also seemingly them putting their best foot forward, I would hope. And to answer the big question of what happened with Bleach, there you go. Pretty much the anime ended in 2012. A lot of it was due to a bit of disinterest in the series and the franchise as a whole following the defeat of Eisen. And then with the manga wrapping up in 2016, a lot of that was due to the author having health issues and having to kind of wrap things up quickly. A lot of people get the misconception that Bleach was canceled or things like that, and there was rumors and speculation at the time, but once Tite Kubo came out and told us his story of what he was dealing with, it all made sense why it was like, boom, he gets a few months break in between the Bleach's 1,000-year blood war, and then the ending kind of gets rushed. He was running out of time and how much he could do. I mean, if we give a bunch of leeway to people like Yoshihiro Togashi that drops a volume every 3 years, you definitely got to look and say, shout outs to Kubo, continuing serialization close to damn near the same amount of chapters as Naruto, despite going through all of that behind the scenes and never once saying, hey guys, my health is failing. And since the announcement that the Bleach anime is returning and things is about to kick into high gear, we also got that one-shot manga chapter that was very long. I believe it was called No Breaths from Hell, and it seems as though Bleach potentially could continue onward after the end of the anime wrapping up and even following the events of the manga, because it took place years after the Bleach series. And well, you should go read that one. If not, I got a big review you could go check out on my channel talking about everything that happened and what's going down. And there's potential, who knows, for the series to continue even after the end of the 1,000-year blood war. I think it's a make or break situation for this IP. If the Bleach 1,000-year blood war does well viewing wise, because we know that there's a little bit of limbo with Disney Plus and what's happening with the franchise, it could possibly lead to spin-offs, sequels. We're not sure exactly how much Kubo wants to be involved per se. We know that he still has Burn the Witch in the wings, and Bleach is still kind of like potentially a thing, because again, that one shot was amazing. So we might get more Bleach even down the road continuing the story, but as it stands right now, Bleach 1,000-year blood war anime finally, after a decade plus of waiting, is returning, and it looks like Tite Kubo is ambitious and still putting in work all these years later despite all those issues. But I'm curious what you guys think. For starters, I want to know your story regarding Bleach, whether it be from 10 years ago, 15 years ago, a year ago. If you just watched Bleach or read it for the first time, let me know what you think about the series. How do you feel about the anime returning with the 1,000-year blood war? Do you want more Bleach continuing after the manga? And when the anime returns, are there any specific changes you want to the 1,000-year blood war, like extended fights in particular? A fight, because they did say that they're going to be extending certain fights, like which fights would you want to be extended? Is there any plot twists you want to be changed? And your overall thoughts and expectations for it and the future of this IP. I'm really hoping that following the 1,000-year blood war anime, they decide to bring back the series and continue it with those one-shots, even if it's just once in a while, and eventually they adapt them into anime films or whatever. I'm here for it. That's all I have for this one though. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day, and remember the golden rule: anime and manga for life, boy. Have an awesome day. Peace in, and Bleach back. Tite Kubo at it, and there's what happened with Bleach.
I have a dream, alone in my room as I sit with the tea. Couldn't possibly think what I often see, and you don't even know how I often blink. Lights be flashing and looking at me, such an odd unique, yet I'm so unique and you're looking at me. If the walls could talk, they would probably read Bleach, and I'd probably say, bitch, get the fuck off me.